If you wish to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item, please sign up at the sheet near the entrance door to the council chambers. You'll be called to speak during the public comment section. Comments or testimonies on agenda items listed under public hearing, public comment will be taken at that time. I've also been asked to say before we start the meeting, before we begin tonight's meeting, I'd like to encourage everyone to visit the Imagine Lincoln City website at what is that noise?
That's a cell phone being turned down.
Okay. www.imaginelincolncity.org. Imagine Lincoln City is a community visioning program with one main goal: to create a guiding vision for the way our community looks, feels, and functions over the next 20 years based on input from the people who live, work, play, and visit here. The ideas we get from the visioning project will help us as we update the city's comprehensive plan. We encourage you to tell us your ideas by visiting the website. Click on the link that says, I have an idea. We look forward to hearing your big ideas for Lincoln City's future. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Don Williams.
Here.
Dick Anderson.
Yes.
Riley Hoagland.
Here.
Deanna Hinton.
Here.
Judy Casper.
Here.
Susan Walke.
Here.
And Kip Ward.
Here. Would you please all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, very good. And we're going to have a little bit of a change. Ron will bring that up during your period.
Can I bring that up now?
Sure. As long as everyone has a copy.
What?
There's two items that we wanted to add on to this. The first one is a construction contract award for the Northeast 36th Sanitary District, which we want to put under the city manager / city attorney reports. And then we have a follow-up that we need to put under City Council for Councilor Walke, which is the CWRC appointment.
Your Honor, there's also actions, if any, following executive session. We don't have that on the agenda today, so we
Yeah, I
can
noticed that.
add that.
Okay. So when we return from, it will be after K, we'll do, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Or after reconvening, council meeting after O. We'll have actions, if any, based on, thank you, based on executive session meetings. Okay, so we'll talk about this at that point, right? So I can just put this aside?
Yes, sir.
Okay, give council a second to digest that. All right. Anything else? No? Okay. We'll get started. Consent agenda. One, regular meeting minutes of the regular meeting September 11th, 2017, 6 p.m., and two regular meeting minutes of work session September 18, 2017, 5:30 p.m.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. I don't know what council deliberations is for. Moving along. Comments from citizens present on agenda, non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to bring to the council's attention any item not listed on the agenda for public hearing or public comment. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per citizen, and the city recorder will use the light system. Speakers may not yield their times to others, and as a general rule, this is not a time for exchange of questions. At the conclusion of this agenda item, a councilor may discuss or raise questions regarding an item presented by a citizen. The mayor has the authority to reduce the time allowed for comment in accordance with the numbers of persons present and signed up to speak. So far, Elaine Walsh.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Walsh, and I reside in Rhodes Inn at 1842 Northeast 69th Street in Lincoln City. I am here to thank you for the fair and thoughtful approach you applied to the Rhodes Inn rezoning ordinance on August 28th. I believe the resulting ordinance harms no one. All parties keep what they presently have, and no changes to anyone's current rental license occurs until after an individual sells or transfers their property. While the resulting reduction in short-term rentals will take years to complete, there is a strong belief among full-time and part-time Rhodes Inn residents that a positive change for our community will occur in a number of areas. These include noise reduction, parking problems, traffic congestion, garbage overflow, and pedestrian safety, to name a few. The proposed ordinance you deliberated about a month ago is fair and balanced and consistent with other like residential communities in Lincoln City. While there may be some opposition to the ordinance, I encourage you as councilors to hold firm on your vote and your approach. Thank you for your continued support of the Rhodes Inn rezoning ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who else seated outside and would like to speak, please come forward.
Good evening, I'm Mr. Baird. I didn't plan on speaking this evening, but after what I just heard, I disagree with what was just said about the Rhodes Inn rezoning and the subsequent change to the comprehensive plan. I believe that for the same reasons that you want to pass the Nelscott Gap plan and make it part of the comprehensive plan, the same reason is why I want the RC overlay. I am damaged in many ways when the city statutes take place, when they become effective upon our property. One thing, I'll never be able to cut a tree without a hearing. Right now, I can lay it flat if I want to. That's just the beginning of the statutes that change the way that my property is going to be developed in the future. I strongly suggest that you send this back down to the planning department for more planning. The amount of time that we've spent planning this out is not sufficient. I, as a Rhodes Inn resident and a business person in this town, strongly suggest that you reconsider. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on. We are at the Employee Years of Service Recognition for Ms. Debbie Mamoni. I always forget the E. Mamoni. It's a beautiful name. Yep.
I can't believe it's been 10 years.
You ready?
Yes, sir. As long as, is there someone going to be able to take a photo besides you?
We don't need a photo, that's all right.
Oh, yes, you do.
I'll get one from
All right,
Cassie.
Cassie, be good enough. All right.
It is my pleasure to present Debbie Mamoni for her recognition for 10 years of service with the city. In your packet and on the city's webpage is a brief write-up of some of her accomplishments. I'm really here to tell you the fun stuff, more than that. Debbie is truly a finance director in its truest form, where I call her a magician. The best finance directors I know are the ones that are able to pull the rabbits out of the hat financially when the rest of us can't figure out what we're doing. And she has consistently been able to help all of the city staff and the city council in figuring out some very complex financial worlds, including taking over for Ron Tierney, who, after he retired, and we discussed that change, and it was a huge change because of Ron's immense knowledge. We decided that Debbie was the right person, and she has taken that over. She shifted a few other things that she does onto others and has done a marvelous job. Now, here's probably the most important thing that I know about Debbie. She has two very lovely daughters that are the light of her life, and one has just recently gone off to college again this semester, and so they have just been a real great privilege for me, at least, to get to know. it is just the greatest honor to work with Debbie. It's just been fantastic, and not only is she just a fine employee, but she's also a very good friend.
Excellent. Anything you'd like to say, Debbie?
It doesn't feel like it's been 10 years. I've been really privileged to work here with a lot of really, really good quality caliber people, and both David Hawker and Ron have been excellent to work for, and good counsel, and it's been really good. I'm honored to be here.
Council, anything? Some of you have been here for a while working with Debbie?
You know, Mayor, Debbie came prior to my joining council, but it's been fun reflecting, because I, too, didn't realize it's been 10 years already. But, you know, I think of your computerization and, you know, bringing in, because when we used to get, you know, packets of paper for these meetings delivered to our door by Kathy on Friday night, and brought us into the computer age, not only Council and Planning Commission and the website, help with the transparency. You know, and I always think of paperless, and I think that's been accomplished, but also the productivity and watching your departments institute new software and stuff that certainly increases productivity and you know, in often not a harmful reduction in staff, but a reduction in staff as productivity increases. So it's something I've been watching along with the finance, and certainly appreciate your knowledge in that area. So thank you.
Software is the fun part of the job.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I just want to say thank you, Debbie. You made the transition from Ron much less scary than I thought it was going to be. We all had a lot of faith and trust in Ron, and rightly so. And that was big shoes to fill, and you've slid into them beautifully. And so thank you very much. So well done. Come on, we have a little. Oh, wait. One more. Okay.
A real camera.
Amateurs.
All right, well done. Okay, who are we going to fire now? Oh, okay. No, that was just too fun. Okay, again, thank you. I'm sorry, now I'm showing public hearings, public comments. It seems our agenda is a little goofy. We have none. Okay. Ordinances. Ordinance number 201716, an ordinance to adopt the Nell Scott Gap Neighborhood Plan as a support document to the Lincoln City Comprehensive Plan.
Your Honor,
Cello.
Your Honor, Council, this is first reading of ordinance 2017-16, an ordinance to adopt the Nell Scott Gap Neighborhood Plan as a support document to the Lincoln City Comprehensive Plan. Ask for approval of first reading, and if it's unanimous, we'll move on to second reading.
I'd move for approval of first reading.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Casper?
Yes.
Walke?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Henderson?
Yes.
Hoagland? And Hinton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Your Honor, Council, this is second reading of ordinance 2017-16, an ordinance to adopt the Nell Scott Gap Neighborhood Plan as a support document to the Lincoln City Comprehensive Plan. Ask for approval of second reading and adoption of the ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make the motion to approve second reading and adopt the ordinance.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor, just, I guess, a clarification, if I could.
Sure.
You know, I hate for anything to go by as easy as this, but I was reading in the memo, and maybe staff could help us understand. There's the memo that says direction from council was to proceed with the adoption of the plan as a support document, and we heard that in this motion or from the attorney. But number 2 was to, I guess, put in a force and effect of law. Now, it's trying to understand what that force and effect of law means.
We basically made 2 motions. The first motion was, as staff was recommending, go ahead and adopt it as a support document. The second motion was to go ahead and process pursuant to 197-610 a comprehensive plan amendment so that it would become part of the comprehensive plan, not just a support document. So there's really some desire to not have this just be a plan sitting on a shelf. So we want to make sure that we actually take it to the next step and draft comprehensive plan text changes and land development regulations that implement it. So that was, that second motion was to go ahead and make it not just a plan on a shelf.
So, Mayor, just a follow-up question. I guess I like the plan and I like the vision that it provides. I guess I'm wondering how rigid this plan is. I understand now it's going in the comp plan and it's a guiding force, but how, I guess the rigidity of it, I'm concerned about that in essence this lays out exactly what will go on the Nelscott Gap area.
Well, this adoption does not do that. The future processing of amendments will create the legal framework and answer that question.
Okay. Thank you.
And if I could, whenever I heard the word "we," you had said we talked about this and we decided to. Who is we?
The city council, the city, my client.
Okay, maybe I was misunderstanding what you're saying. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Wolke?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hoagland? Hinton?
Yes.
And Casper?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Resolutions, Resolution 2017-18A, a resolution extending Lincoln City's workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Lincoln City. Hi.
Hi.
Colleen, all yours.
This is a resolution that we pass annually in conjunction with the workers' compensation coverage that we offer to our volunteers. When you pass the ordinance at the last city council meeting with regards to committees and things, there were some committees that were removed from that ordinance and new committees added. So this resolution basically reflects those changes so that they're in the resolution. This goes to CIS and they keep it on record. So for those who are new, any of our volunteers that work for the city are covered under our workers' compensation plan. So, for instance, if you're in the duty of your city council or you were injured, you would be covered under our workers' compensation policy. And CIS, asks for us to update this on an annual basis as things change. So I ask for your support and passage of this.
I have a question, if I might. As I was reading this, the employer in me, of course, the questions come. Would that support, say, people like the boosters when they're running their vending operations at
No,
the parks?
because they're
or-
not a volunteer of the
Okay.
city. So it covers like people on our committees, our boards, volunteers who work in the library, who work for the VCB doing the float ferries, at the community center as referees or coaches, those type of.
Okay, and we have for lack of a better word, a registrar of these people. It can't just be, one thing that concerns me, because I have it in my business, where someone will be working, another employee will be off, and they go, oh, come here and help me for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden, I'm liable on a different level. And could someone be brought in like that? Say you have volunteers out, a friend of theirs shows up, hey, come and help me.
No.
No, not covered.
Partially because we require background checks on all of our
Okay.
volunteers, committees, and boards, and especially for the recreation department and the library, because they work with children and vulnerable adults, and that is a requirement by the state that we do those background checks, and we do those annually to make sure there hasn't been any changes. So the people who run those programs are very aware of those laws and regulations and know that they can't just pull someone off the side of the street and have them volunteer like that. And their hours are kept. They track those hours, and those hours are actually transmitted to CIS on an annual basis.
Great, okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Question, I noticed in the staff report showed no financial impact. So I guess it leads me to the question, and that may not be correct, but wouldn't the insurance be based on at least some kind of blanket number of?
It
And
is.
it's more in groups rather than individuals?
How CIS calculates volunteer hours is they base it on a minimum wage value. And as far as I've just been here 2 years, but this coverage has been in place for quite a long time, and it's based on that value. They also do the same value for council, planning commission, all the other boards and committees as well. It's based on a minimum wage value.
So the insurance does cost. There is a financial impact.
There is a financial impact. There's just no change in that financial
Gotcha.
impact. It's
All
the
right.
same financial impact that we
Because
always
of-
have. It's just,
Because the volunteers' hours are probably in that same range.
they are. Actually, they've gone down a little bit this year. We had less volunteer hours this last year.
Thank you.
My question was
Okay.
same as Dick's.
All right. Your motion?
Make the motion to approve Resolution 2017-18.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion?
I see that this resolution is, in the signature line, it says passed and adopted. I thought resolutions were approved, not adopted. Okay, thank you.
I think that's an old form that they've been just copy and pasting on, so
Yeah.
we can change the wording.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm sorry, roll call or no on this one? Just up, down, aye, aye?
Sure, we can do roll
Sure.
call. Ward?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hoagland?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
And Walke?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 2017-19, budget transfers for fiscal year 2017-18.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask both Debbie Mamoni and Allison Robertson to come up on this one. In order to understand this, you need to also hear about item K10. So they're going to explain both of these together. Allison, why don't you begin? Allison, why don't you begin and explain what we're doing, and then Debbie can talk about the budget.
Okay, so we're here before you this evening to talk about roof replacement for the Ballard Building, which our tenant is the Lincoln City Glass Center, Inc. And the leak started happening in the winter, so we weren't really sure if we could repair it or if we had to replace it. And so replacement is what we are needing to do, and so that's why we brought this forward to you. Do you have any questions on the actual roof? The last time it was done was 2007. The material will be better quality with a warranty, so we're estimating that we'll be able to get 20 years out of life. It's a flat roof, 1945 building, but obviously it's had roof work since 1945. It's just that the life of the current roof has expired, so.
And has this been checked by a contractor, so any underlayment, anything like that? Do we know what we're getting into?
Yeah, we have an estimate for the 54,000 and change. Thank you, 54,280, and that is what they're estimating the work to be.
Mr. Mayor, my question is, and maybe I read this the wrong way, but the roof that's on there now, it's been 7 years, is that right?
It's been 10 years.
10 years, I'm sorry, that's right, 10 years. And did I read it that it had a 20-year warranty? Or was that what you want to replace it with?
Yes, that will be the new replaced, or that will be the new roof. The old roof lasted 10 years, and the new roof will anticipate getting 20 out of it.
Okay, my other question is about the financing, so I'll hold that off for Debbie.
Allison, please. Is it the vinyl roof?
Yes.
Is that rated for the temperature that will be around those exhaust fumes? I know that I see it a lot on hotels and flat buildings that don't necessarily have whatever temperature is coming out of those stacks. So it is within the range of temperature for that type of material? It's not going to melt or anything like that?
No, it won't melt. The contractor has, in the estimate, they are listing Class A fire rating for the roof material, and they don't anticipate that there's 3/4-inch plywood underneath, and then the roof, and they don't anticipate the 3/4-inch needing to come out, but they're going to add 5/8 inch on top of the 3/4 inch. So they're
Roof, 5/8.
yeah, it'll be upgraded and improved, and then the new PVC vinyl on top of it with the 20-year.
You don't anticipate new vents or anything like that, or having to cut into that kind of roof or anything like that?
No, not at this time.
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Alston, are you sitting there as urban renewal?
I'm sitting here as city
As what?
economic development.
Oh, okay, so I want to make sure that transfer had passed through.
Yes,
So we're talking about all city stuff.
correct. This is city. Mm-hmm.
Looking at you went through the process of the 3 bids and only got one. Was any reason why we couldn't find 2 other roofers?
No, we talked to a few, and we hear that they planned on submitting bids, and then we just never received any, and we contacted a couple times to follow up to try and get those. So it's summer season, contractors are busy.
So some of the things, I'm trying to remember, and forgive me, but with hospital stuff, we delayed some action so we could get the contractors we wanted. So if this leaked last winter, October, a winter later, it doesn't feel like we're in much of a rush. And so I'm wondering if, just out loud, was it a timing thing with our roofers, local, and I'm assuming we're talking about local roofers?
Yes.
Because sometimes they just don't want to do a flat roof. And I guess I would prefer you heard that they didn't want to do a flat roof. But they just didn't want the work?
We contacted the roofers that we know in town who have done flat roofs. It could be that it's a small market and the roofers are being respectful of one another. I just don't know, but yeah.
I can kind of touch on that because I just had to have a flat roof replaced on my building in Newport, and the earliest I could get someone from here was April. So the owner of the building brought someone in from the valley to do the work. So it's not easy finding help here. Please.
Were you guys able to dig up the old contract from the roofer 7 years ago?
Not the contract, but we have the information from the permit.
I mean, it just seems to me like most of the times I've bought plenty of roofs, and the lowest I think I've ever seen is a 15-year roof. Generally, it's 20, 25, or if you're foolish enough to buy it, to 35. Is there possible that there's a warranty out there that we're not pursuing?
We don't have a warranty on this one that I'm aware of, and the contractor that gave us this estimate said that when we first approached them, we asked if they could repair it, and they said it's beyond the life of the roof. So I'm not aware that we had any warranty when we did it the first time in 2007.
So there wouldn't be any paperwork around that you could dig out that you could see?
I can look some more, but
I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be
yeah,
nitpicky.
no, it's a good question. It's, I can do some more looking before we contract. Yeah.
And if I might, Allison, and I mean, no, I'm not casting aspersions, but do we have a contractor on board somewhere in the city that we could talk to say, okay, here's what I've been told. Here's what they say they're going to do. Is that feasible? Is that doable? Or are we just saying, gosh, I hope they're telling me the truth?
Well,
Who do we rely on to verify this stuff?
yeah, we do ask questions of our building inspector, just as general information and assistance with.
And that's the
You
case
know,
in this?
Yeah, we've been working closely and asking questions about what's standard for a commercial roof, what, to really, the building department has great experience with a lot of different projects, and so there are times where we do ask them for more information on a building system, or if they have any suggestions or information that's helpful as we guide through this decision-making process in general for the buildings.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, good, thank you. I meant nothing about your background and skills, so just,
Oh, no,
Okay.
no offense taken.
Okay,
I'm a
thank you.
planner.
okay. fair
Yeah,
enough.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, one
Yes.
last, Allison, one other question. I remember when we were signing the lease from, or the acquisition from Urban Renewal and looking at redoing the lease, we talked about capital improvements not exceeding the rent.
Yes.
So are we raising the rent?
No.
Oh,
In your last lease, you did not increase the rent.
but we're overspending the capital improvements.
We are. Yeah, the lease is for 5 years with no yet exit strategy in place, although that's on the list to work on.
Okay.
And with the rent revenues, I think we were anticipating 5 years, roughly,
No, less than 5 years on this.
to
About
pay
2.5
off the roof
years.
replacement. So, yeah, it's hard to know when some of these larger capital repairs and replacements are going to pop up, and I think we have a better handle on it now. So,
So what you're saying to Mr. Hoagland is that his bricks won't get worked on.
They'll just get painted.
oh, no.
It's good paint, though. Good paint.
No painting. No. Yeah, no, the bricks are actually in fine condition. Yeah, they will need something down the road, but at this point, the bricks are fine.
Okay.
The bricks are not crumbling, as I've heard mentioned.
Is it the mortar?
Yeah, they will eventually need to be repointed, retucked and pointed, but not right now.
What do you say to that? Do you agree?
No, I don't agree, but,
Well, I think.
we can take a field trip down there and scrape the wall,
Well,
that's
no,
really, but I mean.
Sounds like
No, but
fun.
you see, that's what I'm getting with the question, is who do we rely on here? Now, you have experience in the trade,
That's right.
and so it would be nice to be able to rely on someone who could say, hey, this is, and no offense again, but
Yeah.
someone with brick experience or building could
Well,
walk down there, give us a quick report saying, it's good.
we have information on the brick, and the brick will need to be sealed. It will eventually, as I mentioned, need to be retucked and pointed. The mortar redone. I'm sure you probably understand that terminology better than I do, but the brick will need some work, but it's not.
Structurally unstable.
Correct. Yeah. It's a structurally sound building. It just has a leaky roof that needs to be replaced. And then when the roof is done, we can bring back to you more comprehensive list as we talk about budget in the future about what your priorities are with city buildings in general and where you want to make investments about whatever is the highest priority.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have two items in my resolution. One has to do with siding replacement at the glass studio, which was actually budgeted for last fiscal year. However, it was not completed, and so this is more of a rollover request, requesting to move the funds from the last year to this year. And the second item is about the roof, and so it kind of hinges on your decision on whether you want to do the roof replacement or not.
Mr. Mayor.
If you did want to do the roof replacement, where I would propose funding it from, in the current budget, we have $12,000 in the general fund economic development department that was budgeted for the roof replacement. So we would first use that. VCB has agreed to put in $15,000. And the remaining, I would propose come out of our facilities capital fund. That fund is expressly for the purpose of maintaining city buildings. And since that building is part of the city now, I think it fits that criteria.
I guess I have a question about this whole discussion. This falls within your range, Ron, of what you can spend, right?
The $25,000 does, the $54,000 does not.
I'm sorry,
My limit is up.
75.
My limit, well, there's two different limits, and for this type of a improvement, my limit is at 50,000.
Okay. And once again, I say, I don't like that limit. I'd just as soon not have these meetings. I thank you very much, but I trust you to make these decisions, but it could be up to everyone else. Anyway, okay, so you've got the money? You know where to get it?
Yeah, the one budget change we would need to request is to take $15,000 out of the VCB, increase the beginning fund balance in the VCB, and put the $15,000 in capital for the roof replacement. So it would require a budget change, but it's just, in essence, moving the money from last year to this year. That's why the beginning fund balance is higher.
What does Ed have to say about that?
He's fine.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what we did.
We talked to them first before we come here.
And
I like working here.
There is a reason why he's fine, and it's the same reason we had discussed previously in the contract. And that is that this studio has a tourist element associated with it. It is a big impact in the tourism, both for the city and for Taft. And so not only does it fit with what we're trying to accomplish as far as the economic development, but it also fits within the criteria that VCB can use to spend their funds.
I think I've heard the VCB being tapped a couple times recently for their money. I just want to make sure they've got their funding in place.
They do. The criteria, we currently have, they have a fund balance of about $1.5 million. $750,000 of that has been set aside to be used in time for a visitor center if you want to go that direction. The other is in contingency, and so we will be pulling from that, so it's not pulling from his direct operating expenses.
Riley,
Yeah.
microphone.
So, I mean, that's 27% would be for the 27% would be of their cost, the VCB's cost at $15,000, right? Out of the 54. And whereas that is kind of a 50-50 tourist or even maybe more tourist based than locals, and is what you're telling us that they will not get the siding done at all and only the roof, or no to the roof and the rollover will now be able to do the siding today or this year.
Yeah, I just realized I misspoke or confused the two. The rollover request is actually for the siding. The roof was not budgeted for. So I have both of these items in the request, one to fund the siding, and that would be entirely funded from VCB. And then the roof would come out of 3 different pots.
So you're looking at the $27,762 was the rollover to be completed for the siding.
Yes.
Ending that discussion. $54,000 is of this amount, of which the VCB will pay.
So the two together would be about $40,000 between the roof and the siding that the VCB would contribute.
Of
Both.
the $80,000.
Yes.
So, I mean, if it's $80,000, they're going 40, I think that's half. I mean, that's 50-50.
we're on the hook for both of them as landlords, right? I mean, your tenant doesn't re-roof your structure, nor do they put siding on. That's generally
It's our responsibility.
It's your responsibility. Yeah, we're on the hook, so we got to pay it, right?
If you want to keep a tenant in there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
either
if-
that or they can sue you for, I think it's called constructive eviction or something, when you don't do your job as a landlord.
Yeah.
So we have to do it.
Yes.
And my question was just about the same thing as what Riley had asked you about, with making sure that the VCB was taking a good chunk of it and paying for it. But I see that it is now. I've forgotten about the siding coming from their budget. But so I'm good.
Is the siding just the backside?
The west wall only.
Only the west wall, and that's only the entirety or the top 6 feet of it?
Oh, it's the whole.
The
yeah.
whole thing?
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, again, I'll be voting for this, so it's not a problem. But my issue is when we're working on the lease and negotiating, we were told that capital expenditures wouldn't be exceeding the lease payments. So now, 54,000 plus 25,000, whatever, 27. So, and I'm fine. I just think we need to be well aware our responsibilities as a landlord, but where the money comes from, because when I was approving the lease, I heard and felt fine. I don't mind if, we'll reduce lease payments below market. We like what we're getting, and we kind of made an informal understanding, at least I did, that we'll spend those payments on capital improvements that we need to do. And, 2 weeks later, a month later, you've gone over a 5-year payback plan of those lease payments. So I think I want us as a council to recognize things happen. And fortunate we're well endowed with funding in different buckets, so we can take care of it. But we need to think in a little broader and longer vision when we're leasing space, and I guess we really can't with capital improvements, but, recognize that it's an old building we have in a lot of these, and there's going to be capital improvements that we don't recognize today.
That's something to keep in mind when looking at the rate to charge. It shouldn't be just the immediate cost, but it should also be a portion of the long-term costs. So if you have a roof that lasts 20 years, theoretically over a 20-year period, you'd recoup that cost. So, it's just something to keep in mind when setting rates, that it shouldn't just be the immediate costs that you see, but also some provision for depreciation.
Good. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to recommend approval for Resolution 2017-19.
Second.
Motion and a second. Pick that whoever you want. You got that, Kathy? Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Williams?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hoagland?
Yes.
Hinton?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Walke?
Yes.
And Ward?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Now I'm looking at special order business, then we're going to vote.
Your Honor,
Yeah, go ahead.
you also need a motion on the, approve the bid award to Central Coast Bidders. Am I?
That's under item number 10.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to go through the special order. We've got the minutes, and then we've got that, and then, so I don't know if we need to separate them, or we can just do one big.
It's up to you, Mayor.
Yeah, well, we can do the special order business, the September 12th, 2016 meeting minutes, August 15th, 2016, special meeting minutes, August 15th, 2016, joint meeting minutes.
I'll be abstaining from 8 and 9 simply because I wasn't here.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be abstaining from 7, 8, and 9.
So will I. 7,
I
8,
hope
9.
someone's keeping track of this. Okay, so Dick,
I will also be abstaining from 7, 8, and 9.
8 and 9, Judy, Riley, Deanna, 7, 8, and 9. I'll still leave, well, that'll leave us only 3. I think we could still do it, right? Because we'd still have a majority of the members still voting. Yeah, so we still, okay, all right. So does that work for you guys to just combine those into one motion? Good for you guys to just combine those 3 into one motion?
Somebody wasn't abstaining on all of them, right?
No, I was just talking about 7, 8, and 9. So we have Casper, Hoagland, and Hinton abstaining from 7, 8, and 9, Anderson from 8 and 9.
Mr. Mayor, I think you'd want to do that in 2 separate motions.
Let's just do them one at a time. Let's do them. So the special order business for September 12th, 2016 meeting minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the September 12th, 2016 meeting.
Second?
Motion a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, and with Councilors Hinton, Hoagland, and Casper abstaining.
And Anderson. Oh,
No,
I'm
not
sorry.
7, yeah, so, okay, now, number 8.
I move to approve the minutes of the special meeting of August 15th, 2016.
Second.
Motion a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Kip, you're in on this one? too?
Yeah, should I?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Got a little
Opposed?
mousy eye.
Okay, opposed? Hearing none with Councilors Anderson, Hoagland, Casper, and Hinton abstaining. All right,
I have a question here, though.
please.
Were the special meeting minutes and the joint meeting minutes the same date?
Yes.
No motion?
So I move to approve the joint meeting minutes of August 15th, 2016.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none with Councilors Anderson, Hinton, Hoagland, and Casper abstaining. Thank you very much. Okay, number 10, Ballard Building, Lincoln City Glass Studio roof replacement.
Move to accept the bid to do the Ballard Building Bridge, Ballard Building Roof from Central Coast Builders for $54,280.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please.
I researched them and didn't see anything on their website that says they do roofing.
And?
That's my discussion.
Okay. Well, no, I'm just trying.
That's fair.
No, it's very fair. I just was kind of waiting for more.
So Central Coast Builders, they're serving as a general contractor, and then they're subbing the roof out. So,
That would have been good information.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't have that in the staff report.
That's what I thought, but I just want to make sure that that's
Sure.
said.
Are there any other questions?
No.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Casper?
Yes.
Walke?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hoagland? And Hinton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Report on the Municipal Broadband Forum. I believe that's, who was taking that one? Counselor Casper.
This is a forum that we held on Saturday, September 16th, and we hosted presenters from MyNet, which was a municipality which was formed between Monmouth and Independence. And what came out of it was a lot of tech-savvy questions and the tech-curious, but they fell into 4 areas. They were concerned about lowering the cost, which we realized varied from $70 to $220 a month. One often needed 2 ISP servers. They wanted faster speed because the residential and commercial costs varied. They wanted reliable service. There's minimal downtime, and it's not available throughout the town in certain areas. And it can be used for economic development. The expansion of internet is basically invaluable for education, medical, home, and business creation. So I don't know how many of, most of us here were at the forum. And it was interesting because we had the MyNet presenters and a room of tech-savvy people. So we had some very good discussion about why why we needed technology. It's kind of like having electricity. When electricity was first coming out, it was viewed as questionable and a mystery, and now, we need it for everyday living. So we were talking about the technology in our area has stepped forward and has helped us to become better educated, and we need to look 10 to 15 years in the future. Funding sources were talked about, and there's representation from the state who said there's forms of loans and grants. The expansion of fiber optic is already along Highway 101. I was at a conference along with Susan on the 21st, and come to find out that there is no expansion from Newport to Astoria, which is kind of curious because the rest of the state is creating a loop for broadband. So we talked about resources that are available and who owns exactly which fiber optics. We really didn't know who leases them. There are a lot of questions that we need to know about what exactly the ownership of the broadband is. I mean, the fiber optics here that we do have. So it boils down to that we have an opportunity to expand our business and our economic areas in the city for education, for health, for safety. And if we don't do something about it, we will be left in isolation. We can add it to entrepreneurship and development of businesses as we go on in our years. The goal would be to give each student broadband internet. Broadband means it's faster speed, and we need to talk about download and upload because it's two different speeds. It's not just downloading. I have another piece of information here. Having the availability to attract entrepreneurs here will increase, hold on here, I have this great information. We currently did have a video creator who created games who had to leave our area because he could not get the information for his children due to lack of broadband service. But the benefits that we do get, hold on here. I hope everybody gets to watch the video. Here we go. Some fact sheet about telecommunication, because that's what people do. 24% of people employed work from their home in 2015. A typical telecommuter is college age, 45 years or older, and earns an annual salary of $58,000 while working for a company with more than 100 employees. And 75% of the employees who work from home earn $65,000 a year, putting them in the upper 80th percentile. Telecommuting is commonly working well for positions that require interaction with other employees and managers, little interaction, such as telemarketing jobs. But if you think about it, our state has put money into universities and medical centers in the metro area, and so they are currently expanding those opportunities through our colleges and expanding out from there and into our police departments. The requirements seem to be that speed of the connection, the workspace, and communication requirements are a company. Companies come here to build and hire more employees. There's capital ventures out there that are interested in coming to our city, but we're limited by the fact that we don't have any high-speed broadband. There's investors at this time giving great consideration as to how we could capitalize on making this an income for our area, not just tourism, but also make it an attraction to people who want to do business here and bring their money here, and make it a global economy, not just local. It could certainly expand our opportunities to build our economy for everyone. So that's kind of where we were, and I was hoping that we could continue this discussion even a little further, some of the things we wanted to know, like how the internet speeds, which there's a company that does that for us, how many are residential, how many are commercial. They vary in price ranges. We don't know exactly who all of the providers are in our area, and if they're willing to rent out the fiber itself. I'm not a tech person, so I don't speak the lingo quite as freely. But the next step we should perhaps consider is getting a group together of these tech-savvy people who were concerned enough to volunteer to work as a group to see what next steps we would be interested in pursuing, such as funding, cost, advantages, what's available from providers, and look at some kind of a roadmap for future, and come back to us and see what that might look like.
And if I might interrupt, this
Yes.
is very informative, but we do have a time certain meeting at 6:30. That was 20 minutes ago. If we could pick this up when we come back?
Yeah, I was hoping to have more time,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's
When we
just
come
fine.
back, carry on, okay? So we'll delay the city manager, city return reports until we return. We're going to be recessing to executive session in Northwest Conference Room. We have 3 items to discuss. One, I will declare a conflict of interest, real property transactions, ORS 192.6602F. Is that the right one? Yeah.
No, E.
No, the first one, I'm sorry, ORS 192.6602E, the real property transactions, as I have a family member who has potential to be involved, but I'd have an actual conflict of interest in that. Other than that, we'll be adjourned until, yeah, till we come back? You good? You'd like to have something to say?
I think we should say no more than 20 minutes, I think. Do you want to set a time to return?
I would say a half hour, count on a half hour. So we'll adjourn until 7:25. All right?
Don't we usually say announce, well, you announced the 3 sections, right? E, F, and H, or did you?
I did not, but public. now reconvene, or?
Yeah.
Mics are on.
Reconvene.
Yeah.
Every time I. One of those airport walkways. Hop onto that. I'd do it. I cut myself.
I had somewhere written down that motion, I just
Rather than a line item.
kept it up in there.
That's what you said, so why we broke out.
Let's talk about this.
You know, I was hoping that we could get everything done in a half an hour. I mean, like,
No desire to.
Well, good to go. We lost Kip here.
Lost Kip.
Well, I'll go ahead and call it back to order, if you're ready.
On record?
We're going to reconvene our meeting. Thank you for your patience, everybody. All right. That takes us to City Manager, City Attorney reports. I think, Mr. Chandler, you were going to...
Mr. Mayor, I think Councilor Casper had a little bit more.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Hey, I'm getting old, too. Continue, please. Thank you.
Well, I have a suggestion, an idea. There was a conference on the 21st, which Councilor Welke attended in Albany, and I attended by video conference in Toledo. And I thought maybe we could toss back and forth, because we had two different groups of people. The one we had on September 16th here in our forum, we had Minet, who started its own internet, took 6 years, and we discussed how it started and who it served. And then we had the tech-savvy people in the audience about the possibilities and outcomes of such development. And then on the other conference, there were people from the city government and the state and city, as well as CERT people there. And then we had the providers. So we had two different groups of people, and we thought maybe we could toss those back and forth and kind of see what we came out with an overview here. And actually, we're leaders of the pack. So what they talked, do you want me to start it? So what they talked about in Albany was they discussed the conductivity, the safety and security access opportunities for the governments. And we just specifically talked about Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln County regions. And so they had professionals from the industry were there, and then the state and city officials. So it was kind of an interesting presentation. And they also had representatives from Comcast and Peak. And I didn't know anything about Peak. It's a small provider. It was from Pioneer, and evidently Pioneer had some OSU tech departments who founded Peak. And then also, what was the other one, Susan? Lyrica? Lyrica, a provider we don't have in this area, but they do out from Corvallis. So they held the summit to have a better understanding and which direction to go forward in increasing broadband conductivity, if any, in our region. So now we're talking regional, and we were just talking here in Lincoln City. So they're already talking about expanding it to the region. And where are they going to go in the next 3, 5, and 10 years, what the future looks like, and how to be more connected regionally. So that's what they focused on. And they specifically zeroed in on public safety, and they talked about the speeds. The government speeds in 2015 were 25 megabytes download and 3 megabytes upload. That was, at that time, broadband definition. And now it's way too slow. It doesn't even work for 911 systems. And they were talking about how your cell phone has more information than our current 911 systems, because they don't deliver as efficiently as our cell phones do. And they talked about the various transitions for safety using like next generation 911. Under the FCC projects, they're trying to transition to get these completed, this new 911 installation by 2020. So they need to consolidate services in geographic areas. And if they're going to have data centers or how they're going to divvy up the work. So that was a concern. And they talked about a state core ring, which was an eye-opener for me. And evidently the state has been working in partnership with higher ed. That's where our money goes from the state. And they partner with OSU, Hatfield Marine Science, U of O, PSU, OHSU, ODOT, in consultation with the right-of-way for this fiber optic laying. And even Facebook, I was surprised, they will lay the fiber and they are prone to sharing it with residences. So they were saying Facebook is very generous with its optics, which I had not a clue. So
Facebook now is in Bend, and so it is expanding the fiber network in the Bend area.
So that this core that they want to complete by 2020 kind of goes around the metro area and down to Corvallis. It's a big area where the fiber is currently located along the I-5 corridor. And the plan is to extend it out to La Grande. That would also be in the state core ring. And out as far as Walport? Was that what it was? But
Well, and up and down the
south of
Newport,
Yeah,
south of Newport.
Newport to Astoria does not have any kind of state core ring for communication of this nature. And their goal is to get it to the schools, not specifically to student sites like we talked about in our forum, how we wish to have like lower price internet so each student could do their homework. The state goal was just to get it to the schools.
And the community colleges is a big part of that. And luckily, in Lincoln City, we do have a campus of Oregon Coast Community College. And the trouble with the infrastructure on the coast is there is fiber there, but there's nothing that the state has been able to find that is rentable or leasable. The fiber that is there, the owners aren't willing at this point to share with the state. So there's a big gap between Newport and Astoria, and unfortunately, that's where we are.
They said there's maps available, and so we requested those maps so we could see exactly where the centers are and where they connect, which I didn't even know that there was such a map that existed.
I'm not sure there is. I think that's what COG is now working on.
Is that what they're putting together?
Yeah.
Okay, take that back. They were saying private entities won't release information about their fibers or their bundles, so it's like a secret. The providers that were there were very interested in talking to people to talk about renting their fibers. And I guess the fiber on the coast, our area, is either owned by Pioneer or north. It was thought to have been owned by Lincoln County PUD, which is interesting. We didn't know. So from this conference, they said we should talk to the wireless providers as well, AT&T and Verizon, and ask about what and where service that they provide. And at the parting of it, they were saying, why does Telluride, Colorado exist? Because it has broadband and an airport. So it's inevitable that the core ring will go from our area to Boise and down to Sacramento in the next, 10 years?
And up to Seattle.
And up to Seattle. So it's already being thought out because it's a necessity. Economic development is dependent upon broadband. And for education, medical, just safety is a big factor. And we're getting a new police department, chief. There'll be a lot of things in technology that will save time and be way more efficient, even writing reports, and they talked about something, some security issues that were rather intriguing. So one company did reports, which might be something we can think about creating for ourselves, because they said it's doable if you have tech people to do it. But what they did is they got a baseline of information on the number of providers available to consumers. You know, who are they? And
there was one done for Newport, but that was the closest.
Yeah. Residential internet service providers, business internet providers. This is just all good stuff that we should actually know. Download speeds, business telecom costs and competition. So this is something that would be important to begin conversations to know what we do have and how to proceed as we get ready to have regional talks about broadband development, because we are certainly a part of a region, but we seem to be isolated in that corridor from Newport to Astoria.
At this point, everyone accepts the fact that water, sewer, are services that are provided. And within not very many years, there's the feeling from these industry people that internet will be an essential utility also. And if our economy is to grow, we need to be sure that that's provided in our city.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Very informative. Mr. Henderson, you look like you had something there.
So I guess I certainly don't know much about this, and appreciated the forum because it was interesting learning what I don't know. But coming across or listening for that time, I heard him talk about the 4 issues: service, cost, speed, economic development. And then I kind of did the mental check of, how does it fit for us? I didn't actually hear anything that really got me excited in the economic development area, live examples. I heard it talked about that it should be, but I didn't hear any example success stories from MyNet. When it came to speed, I heard business wants more speed, residents not so much. They're, everybody loves speed, but you're more than adequate. So then it came down to, I was trying to think service and costs, made sense. We all, like better service at a cheaper price. And I'm still trying to figure out where we're going with this, and I'm very interested in continuing it on our radar, and if that's what we're asking. I think we need to learn more, whether Councilwoman Casper talked about a committee or something to keep abreast. I think that makes sense. I'm troubled, quite frankly, by having 3 providers in our area. It's kind of like gas stations or gas companies, and they all hose you, so to speak, take advantage of you, and I feel that's kind of what's going on now. But I don't know that having a 4th competitor makes the difference. So I would hope we could kind of pursue that committee-wise, or asking the questions, what's it take to get a utility to serve rural Oregon and at a acceptable level? And I think that's the issue. But I always have a tendency to think about priorities and costs and stuff, so I want to make sure where this really fits, because I think it deserves the time and attention. Certainly you've given it, Judy, and want to keep it on the radar. but I don't know where it fits on the priority list.
Well, I don't expect an immediate answer in a year, but I think we should maybe even look at this for a year. And as they develop regionally, I was quite excited to see that, the state is bringing it up forward. But I think we need to be talking to our tech-savvy people who are among us and willing to put some time and energy into it to help us answer our questions if they would do that. But I don't think we should be quiet. I mean, I think we should participate with the regional meetings and know our area, know our statistics ourselves, and develop those maybe as baseline information, so we know and we can ask questions about, renting fiber rather as opposed to building our own, whatever. But we need to get more information, I think.
Did I hear anything?
I did. I think we should continue with this as well, because this is the future. And everything is dependent upon that fast broadband. So I think it is, and how to get it, I think that's going to be the hardest and biggest question. And I think that's what Minnet ended up creating their own quasi-judicial way of managing for that. And I think they're, I don't know if they have a profit yet, but I think they're, the cost is going down because of how they are organized. At least that's what I remember from the discussion. And I just have a question, too, about on your last page, it says where to go next. And speak with wireless providers, AT&T and Verizon. Were they just examples, and do you want to add some more to it? Or are they the only targets for?
They were just examples, and these are in our area. In fact, Verizon is now kind of oozing in on AT&T territory with better service, they were saying.
Yeah.
So those are just examples.
There's Sprint that's here. There's there's so many. So I just wanted to make sure that those weren't the only two.
Oh, no, those are just examples.
No. And I applaud you and your effort, because it's kind of fun being out front. It's a little scary out there, but
It's very scary.
very cool.
And then I have a question concerning, follow-up, so it doesn't lay primarily on your shoulders. Do we want to approach this from an economic development standpoint or a public works standpoint, or a little of both, and assign either department to follow up or to keep track or to periodically check in with these providers? I mean, how do you want to move forward?
Well, I would think it would, I'm just speaking for myself, but I would think it would fall under economic development. And if we could maybe have them follow it, but put a committee together and maybe a facilitator to gather this information, because I'm not an expert for sure. I can organize, but I don't know it. And it seems like that would be economic development, because it's so reflective in obtaining this service, could maybe be the umbrella to oversee
Be
it.
happy to okay a committee. You put some ideas together and bring it to council. And
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
that's very well done. Thank
I
you
have
so
to
much.
give you an aside. Councilor Welke was in Albany at the source, and I was in Toledo teleconferencing. And all of a sudden, the screen froze. And we were all like laughing our heads off in Toledo because, oh, really? We were laughing too.
We have another subject? Nope. Yes.
Is it from the point of that there just isn't fast enough? Like, I still don't see the big push for it. I mean, are the speeds available not fast enough? I mean, I just did a test on the city zone, and by the 2015 FCC minimum broadband service is 25, megabits per second for a download and 3 megabits per second for an upload. And I just did one for our own internet here, and we're at 91.5 megabits per second for a download and 44.8 for an upload.
That's here.
Here, that's what I'm saying, here.
Yeah.
So is there,
Oh, yeah.
in this city, areas that receive slower internet?
Yes.
And isn't it based on how much are you willing to pay?
Yes and no. Down the street, we have a telemarketer who's a home entrepreneur, and when he's on, all of our speeds on our street drop. And it's not upload and down, it's the upload speed. If you watch the video,
Right, because there's some services that if others are on it, like DSL, which is faster, if there are more people, it is slower, right? But if it's the cable, then it's different, depending on the service. Because it's not, what is it, fiber optic?
Fiber
right?
optic.
So that's kind of the push to have fiber optic through town, which it is, but it's not out.
It doesn't go to all the residences, and it's not high speed, and. So, but if you haven't seen the video.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's very informative, and they would answer your questions. And I suggest anybody at home who hasn't seen the special forum on September 16th, go to our website and look it up. And
That's the city website.
city website. It's there in the video form.
lincolncity.org. Okay, great, thank you so much. All right, we are moving along to city manager.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, as we mentioned, we added one item to the agenda. I'm going to invite Stephanie Reed to come up and assist me in this. This is for the construction contract award for the Northeast 36th Drive Sanitary Sewer Local Improvement District. About a month ago, you approved you awarded a contract with CG Contractors in the amount of $244,271. Their contract, of course, was subject to obtaining a performance bond, which they were unable to do within the time allotted. So we are requesting that we go to the second low bidder, which is Chris Stiles Contracting, at $260,268. The reason why we're bringing this especially tonight is so that we don't have to continue to delay getting the construction of this sewer up to these folks. As you know, we've had one or more that have failed, and we don't really want to delay it, and that's why we wanted to bring it on tonight. Included in the bond originally was a bid bond, which guarantees the bid, and if a person or a company fails, then the city can call in that bond, which we intend to do. That's in the amount of 10%, so $24,427.10. So what we're asking of you tonight, if you look on page 2 of 2, there's one item that in the cost that needs to be adjusted. It shows that the $500 is estimated cost to complete, has $500 for a bid advertisement. We've already paid for that, so that shifts over. Doesn't change the total amount, so the total estimated cost to complete is $287,855. We are proposing that you award Chris Stiles Contracting in the amount of $260,268 with a 10% contingency of $26,026. And of course, there is a half of 1% for art, which we just transfer directly over into the arts fund.
And I just want to, before we move on, just in case there's anyone at home who follows these things super closely and all the rules, I'm going to just go ahead and read the council meeting rules pertaining to this. It's under 7.2. An item may be placed on the council agenda after the agenda is printed and the notice published by the mayor, the councilor, or city manager, provided the business necessity is explained and the presiding officer consents. The city manager will notify the media and any known interested citizens as soon as possible after receiving information about proposed agenda additions. The practice of adding items to the council agenda after it has been printed and published is to be discouraged and should be undertaken only when necessary. So that was my question immediately, was do we have the authority to do this? And we do. So carry on.
If you're going to, wait.
Do you have anything to add?
No, I didn't have anything to add.
Oh, okay. You had to stay here this whole night, just? Okay.
I have a question.
All right, then a motion or question?
I have a question.
All right.
Should we wait until they make the...
You have a question for Stephanie?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much more a month is it going to cost the people who are getting it?
Well, the estimated amount in the engineer's report was based on a construction cost of $260,000. We're asking for a little bit more because of the contingency. So I didn't I didn't recalculate the monthly payment based on this difference. We are going to recover 17,000, or we are going to recover 24,000 of the bid bond, and we will put that toward paying Chris Stiles construction. So, but no, Riley, I don't, Mr. Hoagland, I don't have the actual.
So if you're recovering the 24,000 from the 287, you have $263,000, so it's 3,000 more a month, or 3,000 more in total divided amongst those who are getting it. So just as people who had, yay, it's going to be less with CG contracts at 244, now we've just added, you know, $43,000 on top of that to be divided amongst those who are receiving the whatever, the plumbing. So I just, for those that are going to be receiving it, now it's going to be a little bit more.
Of course, we won't really know the final amount until construction. So, but yes, that's,
Okay.
yeah, exactly,
All right.
unfortunately.
Mr. Mayor.
Question for Stephanie?
So do we know that this construction company is able to do the work?
Yes, we did contact him, talk to him. He is going to honor his bid, and he's ready to start work. And we have had previous experience with this contractor on Harbor Phase 2. He did that work, so we've had very good relationship with this contractor. I feel confident that he can perform the work.
Can either of you explain the performance bond and why we're just finding out now why they couldn't obtain it?
And we can explain what a performance bond is, but I don't know that I can explain why they are.
Well, this seems another one of those cart before the horse things. We're saying go ahead.
There's two bonds that whenever there's a bid, and I'll have Stephanie jump in on this, she does this more than I do, but whenever there's a bid, there's two bonds that are associated with it. One is the bid bond that's guaranteeing the bid, and if they fail to be able to honor that bid, then they forfeit that bond, which is usually about 10% of their bid. That's due at the time the bid is turned in. If they are awarded, whoever is awarded the bid then has to obtain a performance bond. The performance bond guarantees their performance of the construction of the work. And if they are unable to complete that, then we can call in that bond and use those funds to complete the work. That is obtained after somebody is awarded the bid, not before. The bid bond essentially guarantees they'll be able to get it started and get it going forward. They were unable to obtain the performance bond. I don't know the reason why. They would be the only ones that could answer that question. And so once they were unable to do that, we then are able to call in the bid bond.
Okay, again,
So one guarantees the bid,
understand.
the other guarantees the construction.
yeah, I got that part and I understand it. It just seems to me we kind of just left hanging then on
Well-
every single bid that we approve.
A contractor is not eligible to bid for a project unless they have a bonding company that has a limit that allows them to bid for a project. In this case, and it's very unusual, that when the contractor goes to execute their payment performance bond, that the relationship with the bonding company has changed from when he submitted the bid to when he asked the bonding company to bid this project too. Something happened with another one of his projects, and that affected his ability to bond with this company. It's very rare. It's very rare, and that's why the bid bond is there, an unusual circumstance.
Yeah, it's something I would be careful, just because of something that, Councilor Hoagland just brought up. Now we're going to change terms that people were getting comfortable with, and I don't like having to do that to people.
No, I don't either.
Okay. Yeah, as long as you have questions.
I'd just like to point out that subtracting the bid bond recovery from the bid amount of the second bidder, we come to about what the original bid was. So it's not that much a difference long run.
Right, because Chris Stiles' bid was $17,186 higher than CG's. So so we'll recover that difference in the bid bond. The change really is from the construction bid, what you're talking about is a construction contingency, and that, I'm hoping we don't use that. I mean, I'm just really, we don't plan to use contingency, so it's a straightforward project, and hopefully we can come in right at his bid amount or less even.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to recommend the construction contract be awarded to Chris Dials Contracting in the amount of $260,268 with construction contingency of $26,026 for a total amount of $286,294.
I second it.
Motion and second, discussion?
Isn't that the,
And also the additional cost of the half of 1% for art of 1,301? Is that included in this motion?
Oh, yes. Oh, I see, it's not. Okay, yes. Include the 0.5% for art.
I agree.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
So to clarify, the total bid amount is $287,855.
Yes.
Okay.
No, you need to say that different. The
Oh,
total
the-
cost amount is
Cost amount, yeah, not the bid.
$287,855. The total bid amount is $260,268.
Award amount, yes.
So what you're doing tonight is awarding this bid for $260,268 plus a 10% contingency equal to $26,026 and instructing the staff to pay the 0.5% to the arts fund of $1,301.
Yes.
You modify the motion, modify the second?
Yes.
Okay, good. Roll call, please. Or any discussion after that change? No? Roll call, please.
Williams?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hoagland?
yes?
Hinton?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Walke?
Yes.
And Ward?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, was that
I
after
just
you?
have two more
Okay.
items. One is just to remind you that we did have, that Councilor Walke is going to talk during the council section about the appointment to the CRWC. And then I just wanted to mention and to say thanks to everybody who came to our meet and greet for our Parks and Recreation Director. It was very successful. And we are pleased to inform you that we have extended an offer to Jeannie Sprague from Portland, Oregon, and she has accepted that, and all of the references and background check has been done. It looks like she'll begin on November 1st.
Excellent.
Well, I guess the lodging and all is up to you, not us.
Mayor,
Yes.
I just need to make one more, I just need to, can someone just clarify that last motion? Because on the recommendation, it says an additional cost will be 1/2%. So was that included in the total amount or not
Yes, it was.
included?
Well, you had the cost plus the cost override, and then Ron mentioned the amount
Contingency.
for,
1,301 for the 0.5% that gets transferred to the arts fund.
So the total estimated cost is what's on the back, 287,855, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
that's it, thank you, Ron. Mr. Apicella?
Just remind you that council added the actions, if any, based upon executive session, so when you get to that.
And since I missed part of it, was there any action on something I missed?
Well, yeah, you weren't in the room.
Yeah.
No action occurred in executive session, and I'm not sure if anyone wants to make a motion when we get to that point. I don't know, is that the next item?
Yeah, you're on it. Hearing nothing, so, okay.
No.
waiting with bated breath. Is there something you
Well,
want to
if,
say?
if Mr. Apichello's done with his report, then I have a motion.
Yeah, all I can do is tell you, if you want some help with the motion, sounds like you've got something worked out.
So I'm clear, this is going to be on something I wasn't part of.
Yes.
Okay, just want to know where I'm at.
Okay, so I move to direct staff to pursue negotiations and report back on possible liabilities to the city on the real property transaction that was discussed.
Second?
Mr. Ward, you have to take this one.
Oh, somebody say second. You did? Okay, discussion. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Yes, can we just do this all in favor, yeah? What do we do?
Well, we're not spending any money, but
So, yeah,
you're just directing staff to pursue negotiations on the real property, open space acquisition, and report back on any potential liabilities.
that's exactly what I said.
So should we have a roll call or just voice?
It's just hands up, right? No money spent?
Not spending money, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody.
Okay. Was that it? Okay, great. All right, additional comments from citizens on non-agenda items. Nobody signed up? Anyone? Nope? Okay. Moving on, announcements or comments for city council.
I got one.
Okay.
Just mention the little corner cafe at the north end of town. They just painted their place, and it looks great.
The north end?
Yeah, north
great.
end. Yeah, one at south end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
North end. It's real cute, just recognizing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have something. Please.
I was approached by some individuals about possibly how to, they want to paint this concrete walls in Nelscott, maybe to like accent the surfing contest or something like that. So I don't know if that's something that's been part of the parks plan or something, or some kind of community thing. So I said I would bring it up, that people are interested in developing a way to get those not to be just gray.
You're talking about the ones along 101?
Like one across from, one
Like
across
29
from,
there.
from the Black Squid, and then the other one on the east and west side. But they want to start, the people interested wanted to start with the one on the east side. But I said, hey, I'll bring it up. I don't know how to do it, so.
I can check, would have to check with ODOT in as much as it's a right-of-way of theirs, but we can check on that.
Yeah, just so that's not gray, I suppose.
Just, oh,
I
please.
have several things. On last month's agenda, we had appointment to the Cascades West Regional Consortium, and I was without background to report. I apologize for that. I have found out that the CWRC's mission is to address community and economic development opportunities and barriers. So that would be in the Tri-County area, Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln. So they have asked for a primary and an alternate member to the CWRC board. I'd be willing to serve as the primary if no one else wants. What would you like to do?
So I'd be happy to, I don't know if you need approval to do that, but
I think we asked at the last meeting for the mayor to appoint people.
okay, well then I would be happy to appoint you as our
Okay.
primary representative
Okay.
to CWRC. And if there's anyone else wanted to step up,
I'd be, if she's ill and can't make it.
Thank you.
Mr. Anderson, you had something?
No, I was just a lot of those committees I know have technical advisors, and you might, Susan, check and drag Allison along maybe at times.
Good suggestion, thank you. I noticed in our meeting minutes that we did from last year that were on the agenda and we approved tonight, that when we previously approached branding, and you talked about taking the branding to focus groups, that you included the tribal council, and I wanted to make sure that they were included again this
Yeah,
time.
they will be part of that, yes.
Thank you, thank you. And then I want to let everyone know that Celebrate LBL, Celebrate Lynn Benton Lincoln Regional Award Celebration Banquet will be held on November 2nd. It is being held in Albany this year, but it will be to Lincoln County somewhere next year. At our meeting last Thursday, we voted on Citizen of the Region, several different awards, Project of the Year, the Meals on Wheels Volunteer of the Year, who will be getting their awards in that night. That's all.
Then I guess, the last one. We have Kite Festival, September 30th, October 1st, our last big hurrah for the summer. Looking forward to a good turnout. And then something for maybe consideration later, and I know I'm going to get a lot of blowback on this one, because I'm a big garage sale fiend. I love garage sales. And I know that there's a lot of people around town who get very frustrated with the number of signs that go up all over our city and hang around and look pretty ratty. I was in Dallas, Oregon, not too long ago, and their signs are presented, that's what I'm looking for. You have to go to the city to get the sign from them. You pay for, I think, $15, $18. You get 2 signs. You check them out. You return them. You get a deposit back. And then you have to pay for any extra signs. Where I really liked that idea was it gave a uniformity to the city. It looked really good. The city had control over where the signs were and where they weren't, and who was in charge of them. And it also gave them a database to give to guests to say, hey, here's where the sales are this weekend. And I don't know if council's into that or not, but it sure looked good. It was a nice, clean presentation in the city.
No, John, the chamber did that for the garage sale weekend, and it worked really well. I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, they have really nice little A-frames. And again, I don't want to burden the city with any more things, but
City. Mr. Mayor, their city manager's name is Ron Fogg, and he's a good friend of mine. I'll send him a note.
so I appreciate that, yeah.
But I guess it raises the question, why does it need to be the city? I mean, as a service and a promotion and, all the kind of, the chamber would be the ideal spot to not only do the week or weekend that they do, but throughout the year with,
Yeah.
I mean, why?
I think it gave the enforcement mechanism to say this is the only garage sale sign that's going to be up in our city. And they
Next
will
I'm
come
gonna-
down on Monday. Or
Next, I'm going to challenge you then on the enforcement capability.
Again, I'm just throwing it out there. I knew this would open something up, but again, I was so impressed driving around in town. It looked good. And again, I'm not into telling people they have to go to the government for approval for stuff, but
But that's exactly what you did.
I know. I'm not a big fan of it, but sometimes you gotta marry into a family,
Marry the family.
Anyway, if that's all we have, then may God bless you all, may God bless Lincoln City. We are adjourned. Yeah, I know, that was a bad metaphor, too. But what are you going to do?
That was 2 in a row.
It's late, I'm old. There. Top that one. Well, I can't see, I can't hear.
Lightning strikes.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Wait, that still thing was.
Mics are off.